Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Real Fit Pros. It's your boy, Jonathan Loudermilk, your host with the most. And before we jump into the episode, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to do me a solid. So if you've been following along so far, you already know it's coming. If you're brand new, I'm going to ask a favor for you. Can you go ahead and like, subscribe, do all the things, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps this channel get out in front of more of our Fit Pro brothers and sisters so that we can help them get what they're worth. If you're on the IG, take a snapshot of this and tag us at the Fit Pro Bros, and we'll make sure we hit you back. We always appreciate when you guys reach out to us. With that being said, we got a damn good show for you today, and we're going to kick it off, as always, with my main man, Mark, the Fitness Ninja Zalmanoff. What's up, man?
What's happening, man? All week. So I pay attention to the weather because of the gym. And there's, just because sometimes I want to do things outside. So I got to pay attention whether it's going to rain or not, which changes the plans, right? Every effing day, I look at the forecast for the next day. It's like 80% chance of rain, thunderstorms, high winds, hail, locusts, crickets, frogs. And then I wake up, it's fucking sunshine and warm every day. So two things. It's like, the winter is coming, but it's never coming, right? Fucking George R.R., whatever his name is. And it reaffirms, I told both of my sons for years to be a meteorologist. I was like, hey, you should study meteorology, because I can't think of another profession you can be so wrong and keep your job. Like even we talk about baseball all the time, like, oh, you're just efficient 30% of the time at bat, like you make millions of dollars, right? Well, the meteorologists aren't even right that many times.
Right.
Missed an opportunity, boys.
I believe because there's no mountains here. Because I grew up in Virginia where we had mountains and trees, and I feel like that created consistency. Here, everything's fucking flat. So whatever's coming through is what's coming through.
And there's a bubble over Frisco. It's like the privilege bubble or something. It's like when storms come through, we're all like ready for it and ready for tornadoes and hail. And it's like ding, ding, ding. And then it passes. You're like, oh, now I got to water the lawn because I thought it was going to rain, but it didn't.
Right. Well, dude, we've had hailstorms probably like 3 or 4 times since I've lived here. I've always been in the one area that didn't hit. So I've been super lucky. So knock on wood to say.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
But all is well. It's a great day. And we got a little story time.
Ooh, juicy.
So years ago, one of the gyms that I owned, it was probably like 5,000 square foot warehouse gym. So, big ceilings, open bay doors, hot as fuck during the middle of the summer. It's just one of those. And we had a handful of trainers in there. And I remember this one lady was working out one day, and it was one of those ladies, like everyone loved her. Super, super nice woman, said hi to everyone, like just, one of those people, right? And the guy that coached her, his name was Huck, Huck, Huck. And he was a super fun dude. And he used to do a bunch of stuff with those bands, like the big, thick bands, the ones that people do pull-ups with sometimes, they loop over the bar or whatever. And he would do things like running drills. And so he'd have them like holding on to it and they'd run, and he'd kind of run behind them, but give them resistance, like a parachute drill or whatever.
Oh, the circle of trust.
Yes.
Dude, yeah. I won't let you finish the story, but you made me think of something. Every time I work with a client, I was doing bands, I'd be holding up like, we're in the circle of trust now. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I got to trust you not to fuck up and let this slap me. And you've got to trust me that my hand grip strength is strong enough.
So one day he's got her doing something. And remember, this gym is the 30-foot ceilings. It's pretty big. Music's playing, all that stuff. And he's got her doing something, and he's holding the band, and I'm kind of seeing it out of the corner of my eye. Like, she's getting further and further away from him. I'm like, damn, that band's really stretchy. So I turned back to my clients or whatever. And all of a sudden, I mean, it literally sounded like a gunshot. And, I told you this before, if there was a record that could have stopped and skipped in that moment, it would have. And everybody turns like, with that look on their face, like, oh no, what just happened? And we see her on the ground, and the look of horror on Huck's face was like, uh-oh. Like, as a coach, you're like, oh shit, that was my fault. Like, so he's going over to her, and she's on the ground, like kind of basically holding the side of her ass. So that band was one of the thick ones, like the big thick ones, and it broke. And
so that's what happened.
It broke and snapped her right in the ass, and that's the sound that we heard. So she gets up, and it's like, shake it off, post some tussin on it. I don't know. What do you need? What can we do for you?
Did you say put some tussin on it?
Put some tussin on it.
Put some tussin on it, baby. What was that, Chris Rock?
Shake it up, mo tussin.
Put some tussin in it. You'll be all right.
So she kind of limps around a little bit, and I don't remember if she finished her workout or not, but like she comes back a couple days later for her next session, and I mean, it looked like somebody took a baseball bat and just fucking hit her with it. It was it was like purpley and black, like one of those, and it took weeks for that thing to heal. I don't think I've ever seen a worse band accident than that one.
Well, I guarantee there's someone making a power systems order right now as they listen to this story going, that band's probably, I've been needing to get rid of that band. I need to do an update order.
Amen. Yeah. Coaches, check your damn bands.
Go to Power Systems. They got good shit.
They do. There we go. That's the story of the day.
Dude, it's so funny how there's just so many universal experiences that you have, no matter what state you live in or country. There's just some things that just, if you're in fitness, you're probably going to run into a handful of these experiences if you're in this game long enough. Doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. So today's topic, this is always a fun one. I'm sure we've discussed this at some point, but let's be honest. Y'all need to hear this shit over and over and over again. So that's the truth. We're going to talk about power moves today. And, it's interesting because this kind of ties in with what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago with the 6-week challenge thing compared to just building an actual sustainable business. Mm-hmm. And it's tough because, especially if you're online, you have a little more of a grace period, right? Your overhead's low. Like, I understand you got to make money, but you're not paying rent somewhere. You're not having liability insurance, for a facility. But when you own brick and mortar, you're operating in person, you're paying someone rent. Like, it's a little more dire than most. Mm-hmm. So there's a sense of urgency, but there's also things that we want to make sure we're not doing and forcing things to happen, because those force moves will come back and bite you in the ass every time.
Yeah. And I think the biggest aha moment for me was just understanding the difference, right? So you may be listening to this and going, well, what the hell is a power move? What are you talking about? Right? Sounds cool, but what is it? The difference between force moves and power moves, or force moves, are things that you have to do every day, every week, every month within your business in order to make things happen. Example, call to leads, market, follow up, train and develop your staff, systems, all these things that you're doing that have to take continuous effort from you. Those are the force moves. And there's some things in your business that are going to require that, right? And, it's based on the level you're at in your business. But the goal is, if you want to level up to the next level, whether that's building a team or building your authority, or just really just making your life easier next year than it was this year, that's where the power moves come in. And these are the things that's about positioning you, getting the right people in place. And most importantly, it's setting up things that are actually going to work in your favor, that do not require you to do this on a daily basis moving forward.
Yeah. And I think one good way to look at this is the things that really differentiate you from the norm. Because let's face it, and this doesn't just apply to our profession, it's everything. Mm-hmm. But there's only a real small handful of people who excel in any realm, and everyone else is the average, right? So you have to look at, okay, what are the things that I can do to continually elevate my status in the eye of the prospect? So when it comes time to make a decision, they're like, okay, your skill set may be the same as somebody else's skill set. At the end of the day, we're all teaching a squat relatively the same way. You're checking form and technique. You're telling somebody quit eating so much fucking food. Like, we're all kind of doing the same thing, but those power moves elevate you above. And it's funny, I was talking with my buddy Dustin Johnson the other day, and he said, if you got like Tony Robbins over here, and then you got this other guy who knows the exact same thing as Tony, has the same skill set, can make the same difference, but that guy's almost homeless. He doesn't have a presence on social media. He doesn't have a podcast. He doesn't have content. Well, you're going to pick Tony every time, all things being equal, because he has done things over the years to insert himself in a position where people go, that's the guy to go to. And again, if you're listening to this and you're a coach, that's what you want. That's what we're striving to help you do, is when it comes time for people to make a decision, you're the first line of defense. You're the first person they think of. They go, I need to go talk to John. I need to go talk to Dante. I need to go talk to Kirsten, because they see you constantly doing these things that show that, A, you give a shit and you're treating your business like a business, but that you're willing to invest the time and effort in yourself to get better so you can help others be better.
Yeah. So let's lay out some power moves, right? Because a lot of times it's, what's funny, man, the more I realize, Mark, when we're talking to our clients, all I'm really doing is giving people permission to do something they already wanted to do. Yeah. It's really funny to watch, right? Because once they understand the why behind it and the how, it's like, I've been thinking about doing this already. Now it makes sense. And now they go take action, they go do the thing, right? But there's different moves and different positions based on what you're wanting to do. So, Mark, what would you name off as like some of the top power moves that a Fit Pro can make?
And this is, you may argue that this isn't a power move, but I think a constant presence on social media is absolutely a power move. And by constant, I mean constant. I don't mean today and then skip a few days and then next week. And, the inconsistency won't get you anywhere. And just speaking from personal experience, when I went all in on Facebook a couple of years ago, because I was trying to like post on Facebook and post on Instagram and try to figure out LinkedIn, and that never made sense in my head. And oh shit, do I need to tweet too? Fucking all right, and I was so spread thin across the board, and none of it made sense. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel cohesive. And finally I said, all right, I'm just going all in on Facebook, and I'll worry about all that other stuff if and when I need to. And I went all in, and that was nonstop posting, making memes, adding value, reaching out to people that were interested in having a conversation, getting into groups with people that were my ideal client. And my business has absolutely transformed over the last few years because of that.
Right.
And because I kept showing up when other people didn't, I'm now the authority, and I'm not, listen, I'm not saying I'm the authority, but in my circle of people, I'm the first one people come to because they see me all the time. And that is the power, because I don't really have to market much anymore in the sense of hunting down clients or generating new leads, because I've built this, what we call building the machine. I've built this thing up where enough people reach out to me on a regular basis that I don't have to go out and quote unquote prospect all the time anymore.
Yeah, well, I think you bring up a good point, man. You talked about, one, being consistent and being consistent on one platform first. And that's funny enough, man. I think you made that decision the same time that I did, because that's when you and I got connected. Because I went to the same, exact same thing. I was everywhere but nowhere. I was like, this is fucking stupid. Where is 99% of my success coming from? Facebook. Okay, move everything to the side for now, and let's go all in and make sure we're showing up every day, right? And then also let's talk about the groups too, man, because you've got different groups. You've got online groups, you've got in-person groups, you've got free groups, you've got paid groups. Where is it that you would talk to someone about in terms of like what to look at for the groups of maybe someone starting out, and then maybe someone who's a little bit more advanced, but they're wanting to go to the next level?
So it's interesting to me when I think about how I landed in specific groups with people, quite a while ago now. I started to understand the pay to play thing. And it's something, again, I know it's hard as a coach when, you seem like your income's not what you want it to be and you're just skating by, whatever. And it's hard to part ways with that type of money sometimes, even a few $100 sometimes you're like, oh, but number one, a lot of times that's money mindset shit. You got to reconcile and figure that shit out, because you're asking people to pay you several $100s a month. You need to be willing to do the same for yourself. So, finding a coach, a mentor, a group that you can invest in, not spend your money in, invest in, to start putting yourself around people that think a little broader and bigger than you. I was in a fitness business coaching group. This was before Fit Pro Collective ever existed. And that group really helped me expand my mindset, because all of a sudden I was finally in a room with other coaches doing much bigger things than I was doing at the time. Up until that point, I was around a bunch of average people because I was average. And that's who was around me, was average people. And everybody was just okay, but nobody was doing anything great at all. And finally, I was able to lay down some money and get in rooms with people that own multiple gyms that were doing, $30, $40, $50,000 months, in a facility, or, had a huge online program or whatever. And it really started to open my eyes and go, oh, now I'm beginning to see this. And then, of course, John, you and I landed in Apex through a variety of scenarios, basically all reverting back to Ryan Stewman. But again, it was inserting myself in that ecosystem, which you've done the same thing, where it's not a self, promotion thing. It's not bragging. It's not showing your shit all the time. It's just, hey, showing up and adding value and being of service to people enough that they know you care. And I don't know how many times we have to say this. This is the easiest time to get ahead, because so few people are willing to do A, what they say they're going to do in the first place, and B, that little bit extra that separates you. Right. So almost anything that you're willing to do above and beyond the average is almost a power move now.
Right. Dude, I love it. So showing up on social media could be a great start for you if you're not there. Getting inside the right groups, like just by being in proximity around people, like you may have heard this. I've heard a billion times. I say it all the time, but Jim Rohn, his quote of, you become the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So evaluating your circle and elevating that circle, that's a power move, right? Because it's not going to happen overnight. I'm not going to hang out with Ryan Stewman for one day and then I'm going to become Ryan Stewman, right? But when you get more proximity around these people, you're going to start seeing the way you talk starts to change, the way you dress does. I wear black shirts now. It's all I own. It's part of the gang. By the way, it's not a cult, it's a gang, as I've been educated about this. So we wear black shirts. But as you start getting around the right people, these are things that will start to mold you over the next 3, 6, 9, and 12 months, right? Now, I'm going to list off some power moves that I've done, I'm doing, and I'm seeing other coaches doing within our program that are having great results with. And once again, some of these may be right for you. All of them may be right for you. Part of this is figuring out what's the power move that's the good fit for what you're trying to do. So one of them is write a book, and, I've got my book coming out next month, November 5th. Make sure you stay tuned. Groom for Greatness is going to be a book showing fit pros how to get what they're worth in business and sales. And I'm basically sharing my life story and some of the biggest aha moments I've had over the years. But not really sharing that to plug it, but I share it with you because it's part of the path of, building your authority and adding value on a bigger scale. And, with that being said, Mark, you've successfully written your book. You've launched your book. You've become a bestseller. I know you've got a trilogy plan. Basically, you're like, what's her name from Harry Potter? Before she got in trouble.
I'll try not to make any disparaging remarks, but
don't talk about the transgenders. They don't like that. That's where she went wrong.
I'm a big Dave Chappelle fan, so I make no problem. The book thing. The book thing is very interesting, and we're fortunate to be in a network of people that write books. I saw our buddy posted a couple days ago of 17 books in our network that have been published this year. 17, and I think Dante's may be coming out before the end of this year as well. So I mean, we're almost approaching 20 best-selling books, which is crazy. But the book is absolutely the book to me is one of the biggest power moves you can have. The percentage of people that write a book is so infinitely small, it's ridiculous. The process it's not necessarily easy, but it's not really hard. It's just making that decision to do it. But as soon as I did, I mean, I had clients of mine sharing it, posting it on social media and going, well, you may have a trainer, but did your trainer write a best-selling book?
Right.
So stuff like that. And I'm not asking people to do that. They're doing it. But even in your client's eyes, it elevates you. You're like, oh, I'm a trainer. Oh, cool. Oh, I got a best-selling book. Oh, you're an author? There's something about it. And I think part of that is, when we grew up, it didn't seem attainable to write books. Like only authors wrote books. Like the average person didn't go write a book, right? We didn't have Amazon. We didn't have access to certain things, but it's still a process. And again, I think a lot of this stuff really consciously or subconsciously shows the public what you're willing to do for yourself and what you're willing to do to give back to others. And it makes people feel good. They're like, man, I want to do business with someone who is ambitious like that. I can't tell you how many clients, John, that I've had, especially over the past couple of years, that are like, man, you're doing so much. Like you got a book and a podcast and you got married and the gym keeps growing and, all these things that they see happening because I share those wins with people, but they see all this stuff and it just like, it gives them a sense of pride to do business with me, which is weird to me. I'm like, I don't know, I'm just doing shit that my mentors and coaches are telling me to do, but it really does elevate you.
Well, the other cool part, and you brought up a great point, is, your clients, how that elevates it within their eyes. But, think about your team members within your business too. Like, it's been really cool to share this with my team with Smart Shark, and they're like super fired up. Because same thing is like you can work for a lot of different companies, but how many of them are best-selling authors? Also, there's no better way to lead from the front than doing moves like this. It makes it way easier to hold people accountable and to push them to do more when you're doing things like this for yourself, because you're authentically leading from the front.
Yeah, and in an age of nobody has business cards anymore.
No.
And if you do, stop it.
Yes.
Stop. Get some help. Michael Jordan. If you have a book is a great business card. And it's a great gift to just give somebody, because most people don't throw books away. They may not read it, but if it's sitting on their shelf and they're constantly seeing your name because it's sitting on their shelf, again, it's that top of mind. It's that presence that that you have, where people go, oh, fuck, yeah, I need to get in shape. It's January. I guess I'll call Mark. Here we go.
Right.
And they may have never even opened my book. They may have just bought it to support me, or somebody gave it to them, or I gave it to them. And they're like, yeah, whatever, make good choices. But, it's just nonstop marketing, and it's fantastic. And it's something that nobody can ever take that away from you.
No. I love it. So the final power move I think we can get into, so it's digestible for this episode, is obviously podcasting, right? Podcasting and writing like blogs and vlogs online is one of the best ways to not only increase your circle of how many people come in contact with you and your brand, but what you're really doing is creating this digital footprint. So here's the thing. I own a company that builds websites for fit pros, right? But just because you get a website doesn't mean that people are going to start showing up by the thousands and clicking on your shit and buying all your buy links, right? The real work comes in is when you're putting out this content for other media sources. Maybe you're getting featured on Forbes. Maybe you're getting featured in Authority magazine, right? Maybe you've been a guest on this podcast. When you go into Google your name and you do this process, this is where you can look up, 3, 6, 9, or 12 months from now. And before, when you Googled your name and just your Facebook came up, you do this after doing the work, you could have pages and pages of content that you've put out there. And once again, what do you think your prospects doing before they buy from you? They're Googling the shit out of you, unless they know you in person, right? They're definitely going to Google you. So as you work on these moves, these are the things, once again, if I'm going to pick between two coaches, one that just has a social media profile and yeah, it's cool, or Mark Zalmanoff, who's been on 8 billion podcasts and he's got a book and he does all the things. Who are you going to go with? Probably going to talk to this guy first. So, if there's anything you want to add on that, Mark, because that could be a whole episode right there. But for our writers and our talkers, never been an easier time to get this locked in as a power move for yourself.
Yeah. And what's great about the podcast is, number one, it's free. Like, it literally costs you $0 to record, produce, and publish. From a coaching standpoint, again, we sell a relational thing, and most of us communicate with our clients on a fairly regular basis. So being able to get on a microphone and get people to hear you, not just your words, like people that know me can read my post and hear my voice. But if somebody's brand new to me and they just friended me on Facebook, they don't know me from anyone. They're reading my post. They don't understand my sarcasm. Like, they don't understand any of that. But when they listen to your podcast and they pick up on the tone and inflection and your little quirks, your little inside jokes or whatever, then it makes you more relatable as a human. You're not just this digital thing online, but it also gives people a sense of who you are and whether they like you or not.
Yep.
So really, in my mind, it helps us attract the right people to us, because they're like, man, I like your sense of humor. I like the, and John, how many times have you and I heard it? And they're like, man, you guys have fun on your podcast. Like, fuck yeah, we have fun on our
man.
podcast.
That's the number one thing that keeps us together.
But for us, for people that, want to work with us in Fit Pro Collective, they know that that's part of us. So if that's important to them, if they like having fun, then they know they're going to get that when they work with us.
Yeah.
It's not like it's all fucking jokes and games all the time. Most of the time it is, not all the time.
Right.
But again, there's an element that we have that we can portray when we speak on here that doesn't always come across in just written words.
And here's the thing, if you're listening to this going, yeah, and then and you have a story. If you want to sell coaching, don't you think you should give away a little bit and let people get a taste of it? Just like supplements. Hey, easiest way to sell a supplement is, hey, why don't you try it? If you like it, cool. Here's a whole bottle that you can get. Same thing with coaching.
It's straight out of selling crack on the street, right?
Dude, get them hooked on the product, man, and then you get them on the good stuff,
No, those are good. The book and the podcast are huge. And again, I think there's a path for all of us for whatever it is that we're wanting to achieve. Mm-hmm. But you have to be willing to make these power moves and be patient with it, because these are the long-term plays. They're not going to get you, like we joke about it all the time. A lot of us spend a good chunk of change getting our book produced, and maybe in a few years we'll break even on the investment.
Right.
None of us are trying to make a bunch of money off the book. What we're trying to do is help influence and assert ourselves as an authority, maybe get on stages, open up more doors. That's what the book is for.
Yeah.
The book's not a money maker itself, but we all know that long-term it will play itself out. Same thing with the podcast. Like there's 2 million podcasts on the internet, and there's like 48 million episodes. And I think the average podcast, the average podcast has like 12 episodes, maybe. But then, start thinking about Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss and Ed Milet and Andy Frisell and all these, and Ryan Stewman and Sean, all these people that have hundreds and hundreds of podcasts. That means most people that started a podcast stopped.
Yep.
In a very short amount of time. Like I bet most podcasts have less than 5 episodes.
Yeah. We're coming up on almost a year.
Yeah. So when you just keep going, and again, you're not looking for that instant gratification. You just know long-term it's going to play itself out. Other people start to fade off, but people are still looking for the information that you have. So there's other people out there looking for what we're talking about. And as those other podcasts go away and we're still here, they're going to come to us.
Well, I think about the same with YouTube is like, dude, I don't know how many times you've done this, but I will find a channel of someone that's been doing it for 5 or 6 years, never heard of them, but I'll find one video and then I will binge watch the shit out of all their stuff. I'm like, this guy's hilarious, but why am I just now finding out? But I'm glad he didn't quit, or I never would have found his stuff.
Yeah. So again, we got book, podcasts, social media. figure out your path, figure out the things that you can start to do now to establish yourself long term. As always, John and I are here. If you need help, please reach out, hit us up in the DMs. We're here for you guys. That's why we do this. We're here to help. We're here to serve. We want people to get what they're worth. We got less than a quarter of the year left already, which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Who knows what apocalyptic stuff will happen in 2022, but damn it, we're going to be ready for it.
Yep. So get clear, pick 1 or 2 power moves. I recommend stacking them one at a time so that you don't have an anxiety attack and get overwhelmed and end up quitting. Pick one thing and commit to that and give yourself a year. And I promise you, your life will be different. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things. Helps us get this out in front of more people. And as a final note, don't forget to go out and get what you're worth, baby. Yeah. Damn good episode.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.